to another episode of Mental Health Monday. So I went through the comments of my last Mental Health Monday video, and somebody left a comment that they would like a video about coping skills and effective ways to cope with certain issues. For anyone who doesn't know, coping is the way that you effectively deal with an issue or situation. Just like anything else, there are good and bad ways that you could go about dealing with coping skills. And by bad, I mean like unhealthy ways that will do more harm than good. The way you cope with a situation that you're going through has a lot to do with the mindset that you have towards the situation. Of course, when you go through something bad or unexpected, you're not going to be happy about it. So I'm not saying that you have to be happy when you're coping with something, because that's not even realistic, but you do have to have like an optimistic mindset about the situation. So for me, through all the good and bad situations that happen, I always try to think about like what benefit I could get out of a situation. And sometimes it's much easier said than done, obviously, but you know, just having a strong mindset to find the good in every situation will help with coping a lot. But that's not quite a coping mechanism, but that is something that you should consider when you're figuring out how to cope with the situation. So I'm going to give you a few good examples and a few bad examples of coping mechanisms that people use pretty commonly. So one common good mechanism that people use to cope with an issue or a situation is by just listening to music. I kind of use that too. So like I listen to music that kind of relates to the mood that I'm in, and then I also listen to music that is kind of more uplifting, so to get me out of a bad mood. I think music is a good and safe way to cope with any negative situation that you're in, because it's like a safe way to express yourself or for your feelings to be expressed. So the way that you feel can be expressed through the music that you're listening to, and then of course you're trying to change the way that you feel, so you will listen to a different type of music to get yourself out of a bad mood, or you know, to make yourself feel better about the situation. One bad example of a coping mechanism would be like using alcohol, so like drinking when you're feeling depressed or you're feeling sad or whatever. Because drinking alcohol does nothing positive to your body mentally or physically. It doesn't make the issue go away, and it's not literally no good that comes from it. Even if you do feel good for a few minutes or maybe a couple hours, it usually feels pretty bad. So I've heard, I don't even drink. I've heard that it usually feels bad after the fact. So, I mean, a temporary good feeling isn't worth the harm that it does to your body and your pockets, you know what I'm saying? Drinking ain't even cheap, so that's another reason why you shouldn't drink to cope with anything. In my opinion, I think coping is like a 2 or 3 step process. I think the first step in coping with an issue is, of course, allowing yourself to be upset or to be anxious or whatever about the situation that's happening, because that's natural. You're not going to just be happy about whatever situation that you didn't expect to happen. You're not going to keep moving like it's not going on, you know what I mean? So, of course, let yourself feel it, address whatever it is, and then the next step after you have come to terms that something is happening or something has already happened is to figure out what you can gain from it, or figure out how you can learn from the situation. I mean, bad things are going to happen all the time. If there wasn't any bad situations, you wouldn't be able to appreciate the good things that happen in life. So you're gonna face some hard times. You just have to figure out what you gain from it and be positive about the situation. After you figure out what you gain or learn from the situation, then applying it to your life or to the next step to either prevent it from happening again or to be more prepared if it does happen again is the final step. Another way to cope with a difficult situation is to talk to somebody who's been through something similar to it, or somebody who just might have a little bit more experience for one reason or another. Whether they've been through it or if they know somebody else who's been through a similar situation, they'll probably have a little bit more knowledge of how to go about addressing the situation better. Usually, anything that you've been through, anything that you're going through, your parents or grandparents or aunties have already been through it. And that's somebody who's close to you that you should feel comfortable talking to anyway. So that would be a great person to go to for advice about how to deal with the situation. I don't know if I want to call this a bad coping mechanism, but it's not always healthy to do this, and that's to just bottle up everything that's going on and try to handle it yourself. Especially if it's something you've never faced before, you're not gonna really know how to handle it by all alone because you have no experience in it. So seeking help from somebody, you should have somebody in your life that you should be able to comfortably bring anything to, whether it's your parent, an older sibling, a close friend, a teacher, a counselor, somebody that you can just open up to and, you know, reach out for help. It's not weak to ask somebody for help with the situation, and it's going to make it a lot easier on yourself by having somebody in your corner that knows a little bit more about you. So I don't know if I want to call that bad, but yeah, just try not to bottle everything in, because it usually leads to a big outburst or a big breakdown later on. So another good way to cope with a situation is just by finding any way to express yourself. So I said listening to music earlier, but that's not the only way that your feelings can be expressed outwardly. I mean, listening to music is good, but writing music, writing in a journal, painting, drawing, coloring, whatever, just going for a walk and clearing your mind for a minute, any of those kind of things can express how you feel on the inside and bring it out. Any way that you can figure out a creative and artistic way to express yourself outwardly will make you feel better internally. Another bad way to cope with the situation is by drug abuse, any kind of drugs. Some of them are depressants, which not going to help your mood at all. They're going to make you even more depressed than you already were in the first place. Unless a medication or drug was prescribed to you to help you with something, you shouldn't really take it. Even if it is prescribed to you for a certain thing, it's not going to be able to help you with everything. Just like drinking, doing drugs is just a temporary feeling. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not even good. Like, I've heard people take drugs and not even feel better after taking the drug. So you obviously don't want to harm your physical body trying to make yourself feel better mentally for a short period of time. And then they also can become addictive, and then you wouldn't ever feel happy or upbeat without the drugs again, so you'll have to depend on the drug to feel a certain way, and that's not healthy at all. And the last good mechanism I have for coping with the situation is just to pray. I don't know, of course I don't know you personally, so I don't know what religion you're a part of or what your beliefs are, but if you do believe in God, which I strongly suggest you should, pray about anything that you go through, and God will send somebody your way or send a solution your way to help you feel much better. If you don't know how to pray, ask somebody else to pray for you, but prayer is probably going to be the best thing to help you get through any difficult situation. And if you're not very religious, or if you weren't raised as a religious person, or going to church a lot and stuff like that, it's not too late. There's the first time for everything, so you can try it out once and let God prove himself to you, and you won't regret it, So that's all I have for coping mechanisms. I think I did 4 good and 3 bad on purpose, because life is more good than bad. So if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment as usual any changes that you want me to make, any content that you want me to cover, mental health, physical health, or anything in general from the channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Turn on the post notifications so you can get notified when another video is dropping, and please share with your friends so they can join and get whatever you got out of it. And like always, keep dreaming. If you don't have a dream to chase, you have no reason to move forward. Peace.